Hunter Davies will be at the 2017 Chiswick Book Festival, and he'll be talking about his new book with a very arresting title of The Co-op's Got Bananas. Hunter Davies was born late 30s, and his memoir begins with his early childhood when he's brought up in Scotland for the first 4 years. The family moves to Carlisle, and the Co-op's Got Bananas was the great cry when rationing was rife, and at the end of the war, suddenly a fruit that he hadn't seen for years and years was available. And this makes a great title for the book. Hunter Davies, I'd only really come across as a journalist writing in the Sunday Times. I used to love his articles. They were very, very funny. He had a very northern wit, very grounded in everyday and common sense. And of course, he wrote about the Beatles, which was the other thing that's well known about him. But this memoir is very touching, very funny. It's a real journey that a certain number of people made from a very poor childhood via education, particularly the 1944 Butler Education Act, and the ability to go to a grammar school, to progress because you were bright, and he eventually goes to Durham University. His father became an invalid and was sadly, a bedridden invalid before he died. So their childhood was difficult. But he has great fun playing with his friends. There is, the wonderful depiction of the freedom in the 1950s and 60s, when you could just go off for days on end. I'd just like to read you this little bit. There was one really nasty teacher who made the whole class stand up when she was checking our maths. She would go round the room, rattling out the questions. 7 times 5, boy. 9 times 8, girl. And you would have to fire back the answers at once, which most people could. You were allowed to sit down if you got your answer right. The ones who got 3 answers wrong had to go to the front, where they were poked and pushed with a ruler till eventually they got something right. Oh, the fear and trembling this teacher instilled in the class. And yet to this day, I am a whiz at answering my times tables, unlike my dear children and grandchildren who take forever and then have to get out their calculators. The book really comes alive, I think, when he starts working after university for a local newspaper. And this is obviously the love of his life. He loves the job. He loves writing. He loves meeting people. He loves talking to people. He is a very engaging person that emerges from this. He's mad about music, and he loves it when rock and roll arrives. I think he's quite a good dancer. Certainly a lot about going to hops, going to dances, meeting girls. And of course, the girl that he did meet and married and was married to for a very long time was Margaret Forster, a marvellous novelist, and who died last year. But the fun of his life, the escapades, combined with kind of philosophical debate now and again. Yes, he had this terrific education. He didn't have to pay for it. It set him on a different path, but it came at a cost. Does it alienate you from your family? Do you find that you don't speak your broad Carlisle accent quite as much now? And certainly not when you're down in London. But he loved London and the excitement of London. That's one of the great things about it.